The ceasefire is broken. What started as a fragile truce has now exploded into a full-scale regional war. From Gaza to Tel Aviv, from Beirut to Tehran, the Middle East is burning. Iran has issued a direct threat to flatten Tel Aviv. Hezbollah has launched rockets, and Israel is retaliating with deadly force. This is no longer just a conflict. This is the brink of world war. Stay with us as we reveal the shocking developments that are shaking the entire world. Lebanon strikes, Iran threatens, US responds. The war widens. Lebanon joins the front. In a dramatic escalation, southern Lebanon erupted overnight as over 70 rockets were fired into northern Israel. Hezbollah, the powerful Iranian-backed militia, claimed responsibility for the attack, targeting Israeli military bases and strategic infrastructure in Haifa, Nahariya, and Tiberias. Sirens blared across Israeli towns as residents fled to bomb shelters, with several rockets evading the Iron Dome and causing significant damage to civilian areas. Israel responds with air power. Within minutes, the Israeli Air Force launched retaliatory strikes deep into southern Lebanon, targeting suspected Hezbollah launch pads, arms depots, and underground bunkers. Massive explosions rocked towns like Tyre and Nabatiyeh. Israeli F-16s and drones maintained continuous air presence, while ground troops along the Blue Line, border area, were put on red alert. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant stated, "Any territory from which rockets are fired will be turned into dust." Iran's open warning to Israel. In a chilling statement broadcast live from Tehran, Iranian Revolutionary Guard officials issued a blunt ultimatum. Any attack on Lebanon or Gaza will be seen as an attack on Iran. Ayatollah Khamenei addressed the nation, saying, "The Zionist regime has crossed the line. We will not stop now. Tel Aviv is in our range. And we are ready." Iran's military also released footage of its hypersonic missile, Kheibar-X, with a highlighted animation showing its 400-second strike capability on Tel Aviv. Iranian armed forces were placed on high alert and missile units moved closer to western borders. U.S. response. Aircraft carriers on the move. The United States, concerned about a regional war, moved its USS Eisenhower aircraft carrier closer to the eastern Mediterranean. F-22 Raptor jets were deployed to reinforce Israeli airspace. CENTCOM issued a statement that U.S. forces would defend allies if attacked. President Biden called for restraint but said, "We stand firmly with Israel's right to defend itself." However, Washington also urged Israel to limit civilian casualties, fearing regional backlash. The U.S. State Department reportedly contacted Qatari and Egyptian diplomats to reinitiate ceasefire talks, but no progress was made. Gaza's humanitarian collapse. Amidst this geopolitical storm, Gaza descended into further chaos. Entire neighborhoods in Khan Yunis and Gaza City were flattened in air raids. Power grids collapsed. Hospitals reported running out of fuel, anesthesia, and antibiotics. Children were pulled from rubble, many of them lifeless. The Red Crescent reported over 8,000 casualties in the past 48 hours. UNICEF declared Gaza a death zone for children. Over 1.5 million people are now displaced, with no access to food or water. Israeli blockades continue, and humanitarian convoys remain stuck at the Rafah border. UN Security Council's emergency session. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Russia and China strongly condemned Israeli attacks and accused the US of fueling the conflict. Meanwhile, France and the UK backed a call for immediate ceasefire, but criticized Iran for dangerous escalation. Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary-General, said, "This is the most dangerous moment the Middle East has seen in decades." Calls for a ceasefire fell flat, as neither Israel nor Iran-backed militias showed willingness to halt. Hezbollah's expanding role beyond rockets, Hezbollah launched armed drone incursions into Israeli territory. One drone reportedly targeted a communication center near Safed, disabling Israeli surveillance temporarily. The group's leader, Hassan Nasrallah, declared, "This is a war for the dignity of Palestine, and all of us are now in it." Israeli intelligence warned that Hezbollah's rocket stockpile has surpassed 150,000, with many precision-guided. China and Russia react. China issued a stern statement blaming the U.S. for unbalanced diplomacy and offered to mediate the conflict. Chinese naval ships in the Persian Gulf were seen moving westward. Russia increased joint military drills with Iran, and President Putin blamed NATO expansionism for regional instability. Russian jets were reported patrolling Syrian airspace to deter Israeli overreach. Nuclear fears return. As the war expanded, concerns about nuclear escalation returned. Iranian officials hinted they would target Israel's Dimona nuclear facility if war continues. In response, Israel activated its Arrow 3 and David Sling missile defense systems around nuclear sites. Israel's foreign minister warned any nuclear provocation will be met with existential retaliation. Arab Street explodes in anger protests erupted across Cairo, Amman, Istanbul, and Baghdad. Millions demanded action against Israel. Jordan recalled its ambassador from Tel Aviv. Turkey's Erdogan warned Israel of massive regional consequences if Gaza operations continue. The Arab League announced an emergency military meeting to discuss a unified response. Netanyahu's defiant speech to Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the Knesset. "We are fighting on multiple fronts, but we will not surrender. This is our final war, the war for Israel's survival." His approval rating surged, but so did international criticism. The regional flashpoint, with Iran, Hezbollah, Israel, Hamas, and global powers now entangled, the region inches closer to uncontrollable war. Analysts say this is the most dangerous flashpoint since 1973. Oil prices spiked, refugee movements increased, and cyber attacks on both Iranian and Israeli infrastructure intensified. No peace in sight, despite back-channel diplomacy. No peace efforts have taken root. With missiles flying, leaders threatening annihilation, and millions suffering, the world is watching helplessly.